Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome once again to the Groovy Podcast, sort of. We're actually being hosted here at DevNexus in Atlanta.
And thank you for Night Hacking Interviews.
And by the way, keep in mind, the camera adds 10 pounds, and there's at least 3 cameras on me right now. So
you multiply by each and every camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, of course. Yep.
Should we get back to business? Because they need the stage fairly soon.
They will kick us soon. Let them try it.
We are extremely fortunate. We'll get back to the coffee maker over here a little bit. We are extremely fortunate to have lucked into having Andrei Salmire, our good friend, being a person at the conference making presentations and everything, who was foolishly walking down the hallway right when we needed somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how
I'm not going to walk through the halls.
This podcast is exactly how it works.
Yes.
Right. It's all opportunistic.
It's all serendipity.
If something got recorded, it's just a matter of luck.
Yes. And Andrei Salmire, for those who don't know, is an incredible Java champion, the head of the Griffin project.
That's correct.
What else should we add in on that?
Groovy champion.
What's Groovy champion?
Unofficial title of Andres.
Well, he's awesome. We know that. He's
exactly.
Co-founder of the Hackagarten.
Right. Co-founder of Hacker Garden. Many people have attended that. It's wonderful to go.
Currently now also member of the JCP Executive Committee.
Right.
Oh my God.
I remember that election. That's right. You got elected to the
I got elected last November.
Can I get a signature on my hand and I will never wash it again?
You have so many more meetings to go to now, right? I mean, you go all over just to go to meetings. Right?
Yes, yeah. Now I have to go to meetings. Wow.
Also, of course, the biggest claim to fame is that you are very friendly with Ishel Ruiz, who is also a Java champion.
Yes, she was nominated Java champion last November as well.
Right, I understand.
So you think that the only reason we know Andres is because of her?
I think he's just a little off when she's not around. That's all. I mean, I think he's a good guy, but it gets dicey when
it's
she's
not the same.
there.
It's not the same.
But we'll deal with what we have because that's what we do on the Groovy Podcast.
This is the definition of Groovy Podcast. We do with what we have.
That's right. So what are you speaking on at the conference?
Well, my talk, which is happening tomorrow, Friday, is actually titled The Open Source Revolution.
Right.
And the idea is to showcase why open source is important, a little bit of history, how open source came to be, and how we can make the most of open source just a regular developer or also as an organization.
Excellent.
And you speak about, I guess, about Griffon as an example of an open source project.
I would love to, but the thing is that we are in a Java conference, and sometimes when you talk about dynamic languages, the people just run away to the hills.
I mean, you ask them what you are allowed to speak about?
No.
But
I don't want people to be leaving the room, and it's not because Groovy is bad. No, Groovy is great. It's just for
lock
some reason
the door. Come on.
So are you are you going to talk about Java in the context of open source?
And Hackagarten also.
Oh, Hacker Garden.
All right. That makes. You know what? Let's talk about a conference that is not shy to speak about Groovy. Are you going to GreatConf?
Yep. Yes, GreatConf.
The 10th
anniversary. Yes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's GreatConf at Copenhagen. That's the European version. I mean, it's opposed to the US one in Minneapolis in July.
You know also what happened last year. Groovissimo became the official mascot of GreatConf.
Absolutely,
Groovissimo became the official mascot.
Oh, you didn't know?
I didn't see the announcement. There was an official nomination there.
If only we knew who Groovissimo is under this
He's a mysterious guy.
Yeah. I guess we will never know.
Yeah, exactly.
And in order to know, you have to go to GreatConf.
You have to go to Copenhagen. Tickets are still available.
Tickets are available.
That was a good plug. We didn't see it coming.
Okay, we should explain this silliness, shouldn't we?
It's not a silliness. It's
We're
making coffee. And, so I'm switching careers. I'm an official chief cappuccino officer now and an espresso advocate at JFrog. And you know what? Coffee is great because it has a broad audience. Like everybody loves it. It's very easy to explain. Everybody needs it. It boosts developers' productivity. It's basically like everything else we do at JFrog. So, I mean, why not? It's a natural extension of our product line.
Well, that certainly explains the smock here, but it doesn't really explain the hat. Nothing ever explains that hat.
Oh, trust me, I have a very good reason. The amount of people that come to me and say, "Yeah, I know you," increased dramatically since I have the hat.
But
I tried to go with my good looks and my niceness for many years, and I had to
But there's a difference
go with the
between
head now.
famous and infamous. You know, I mean, are you sure you want to be
From what
pushing
I
that
know,
boundary, you know?
from what I know, there is no such thing as bad PR. As long as people talk about me, I'm good.
You know, the only people who ever say that are the ones with bad PR.
Yes,
Do you notice
and that will be
Yeah.
me. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm actually doing a talk today on Gradle, so we do have at least something Groovy-related sort of going on.
About Kotlin.
Well, there was a Kotlin talk earlier. I'm not doing anything Kotlin. I'm not going to be talking about the Kotlin DSL yet. That's coming, but that is coming, by the way. It's
Yeah,
not 1.0
yeah.
yet, but they have a path to 1.0. But Gradle did announce 4.6 release candidate 2.
A few
Today?
days ago.
Yesterday?
Or was it? Yeah.
Yeah, and so the actual 4.6 will be out, say, within a week, something like that.
I have a question for you guys. Not trying to mock or being mean to anyone, but did you hear? So they're very close to 1.0 with Kotlin DSL.
Yes, they are.
And did you? And a lot of people tried, right? And did you hear any good success stories? We tried the Kotlin DSL and it's good or as good or provides on the promise or anything like that.
No, not yet. But it's also because I've been not looking for those things. I personally have tried it for very simple, trivial projects. It is the DSL that you use is quite similar to Groovy. There's almost no difference whatsoever, except that you get the type safety and code completion and tool support. The moment that you need to do more than that is where it breaks down. And you have to write so much code in order to please the compiler that I don't see the point of writing double the amount in order to get the same thing that you could do with Groovy. The problem is you need to know ahead of time what you need to do.
So that's more or less the feedback that I heard from people that tried it, and they're like, okay, the copy paste from getting started works. Everything beyond that, it's a hellish nightmare.
Yes.
And even the thing that should work, like the code completion and the tooling support, actually breaks first.
Let's say it this way: if you want to go down that route, it's probably you will get better support if you use plain SVT than Kotlin DSL.
And that wasn't a compliment.
Exactly, that's not a compliment.
Okay.
Every time you bring a SBT, it cannot be a compliment. Anyway, you
wait a
turn
minute.
it.
There's still not even version 1 yet. So, I mean, okay, yeah, it's not ready for prime time. Clearly.
Correct. Yeah, but they're improving.
It may change when 1.0 comes out. I mean, I understand there. And besides, the people who are the most likely to adopt it are going to be the Android people because they're already trying to use Kotlin throughout the rest of their system. So I expect the adoption, such as it will be, if there is any, is going to start in the Android community. And then Gradle will have to respond very quickly to their concerns, and eventually that'll filter to the rest of us.
An interesting side effect of this is that in order to support Kotlin plugins and the Kotlin DSL, a huge part of the core APIs and other plugins have to be thought again so that they can be rewritten in Java or have much cleaner APIs. So in any case, we still win.
Yes.
Everybody wins. We'll have much better APIs.
So that, yes, all that extra work we will benefit from.
Yes, exactly.
In the end, I still would use Groovy, but anyway.
Yeah, until it's supported. Anything new about the releases? Griffon, Groovy?
Well, there's a Griffon release coming up 1st of March. We release every 3 months. So the next release is next week.
What are you up to now? Version number?
2.14.
2.14?
2.14, yes.
Okay. And is there any feature or anything you want to mention about coming, or it's something that's come out recently? We have not had a lot of discussions about Griffon on the podcast, not because we don't like it, it's just because we're not as familiar with it. So, well, that's why you're here, man. It's your chance. You know, there could be tens of people
correct
watching now,
the record.
So, actually, in the latest releases, most of the stuff that we have done is to make sure that we have better support for JavaFX explicitly.
Right.
Providing additional APIs for dealing with bindings or creating new components. But the core has already stabilized itself. Now, we're thinking that this might be the latest release in the 2X series because we're already thinking about creating 3X, which, of course, being true to semantic versioning, will signifies there might be some binary incompatibilities, and there is definitely one clear incompatibility coming forward. I am also the spec lead of JSR 377, the specification for writing desktop applications.
Oh.
And the API, it's pretty much done, but the specification documents is still in the works. But once we finish this, my goal is to have Griffon be the reference implementation for this JSR.
Is it the same desktop applications framework that's been working for like...
The Swing Application Framework 296.
Yeah.
377 is based on the same ideas, but 296 target only the Swing toolkit. 377 targets pretty much every toolkit.
And is there... So we've been waiting for this desktop application toolkit for like what? Since Java 1 existed, like for 22 years now. Is there any reasonable deadline that we will eventually have something?
Yes, we will plan to be finished by this year.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow.
Before the end of the year, we
Wow.
want to finish. Actually, we've been late, and that is my fault. I planned to be released 2 years ago, but didn't make it for reasons. But it's my goal to have it finished this year as early as possible.
But seriously, Griffon's going to wind up being the reference implementation for a JSR spec.
That is true.
That would be awesome. That would be very impressive. And the desktop Java community, and I'm using that term to encompass everybody, is the alternative languages as well. That is a small but very vocal community. As you know, they do not like to be overlooked. So
Well, that's the thing. I cannot actually tell for sure if it's a small or not. The thing is, especially where I'm living in Switzerland and Germany, Austria, you find a lot of organizations writing desktop applications, whether it's playing JavaFX or Swing, or they go with the big platforms, NetBeans RCP or Eclipse RCP. They are much into desktop development. The problem is they don't speak about that.
right.
Now, here in the US and in Canada and in Latin America, there are also companies, people building these kind of applications, but we are not aware of them because they are not talking about those things at conferences or events or just making a press release.
Fascinating.
Now, it is more often than not that you're going to find people talking about mobile apps,
Right.
whether it's Android, iOS, Kotlin,
Right.
as we just did, or web apps, any kind of thing.
And
but
if
not
it's
on desktop.
desktop, it will probably be Electron, Node.js, and this kind of
But
applications.
Electron is a web application turned out as a desktop, and it's
Right.
actually not nice.
But
Yes.
the thing is, I'll give you some hard time here. But the thing is, it's actually an advantage that it's a web app application that's converted to desktop because it brings the army of web developers to write desktop applications without any barrier. They
Yes, you want- I
write
want- you-
Atom, they write all this kind of stuff. They use the technologies they know and like. I don't know how you like the JavaScript,
use
but
Atom
they
anyway,
are.
But it's the same.
And boom, you have a desktop application.
No, what you have is something. It's
Right.
not a desktop application. And it's the same thing as saying an infinite amount of monkeys typing an infinite amount of typewriters will eventually write the works of Shakespeare. So an army of web developers, will they write a desktop application?
I've got a
No.
gag in there, by the way. There's a Twitter joke I saw. 1,000,000 monkeys on 1,000,000 typewriters will eventually type a Java program, and the rest will be Perl programs. You didn't hear that one. Okay. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
And a JavaScript program, of course, eventually.
Well, I don't want to anger
But
20 million
I
JavaScript.
see your point. It's possible to write something that behaves like a desktop application. If you don't require file access or a specific device access, then this kind of platform would work. Yes.
You know
and
what,
and it gives you what? Time to market.
I'll keep giving you a hard time. So I use Atom. Out of our Electron applications that I'm aware of that are installed on my computer, I use Atom. It has local access. It works with files on local system. It looks like a desktop application. And you know what? If I wasn't in the technology business, if I only would do coffee, I wouldn't know that it's all
and
JavaScript.
you probably wouldn't care,
and-
exactly.
And I wouldn't care that it's all stick and sheets.
Until you start to see the CPU usage and the memory usage.
Right.
If that actually it's as against the work that you're doing, then you will care about the underlying technology.
But you know what? Java developers are not the ones to complain about CPU and memory usage.
Well, but it's all about the user.
If we need to start up a JVM for a text editor, we are the last people to complain about memory and CPU.
Yes.
So I don't know how you win this argument by bringing this in.
Well, you make an outstanding product and people will use it, right?
Exactly, and we want Griffon to be one of the options for people to have to be able to create this kind of outstanding products, whether they want to use it with just plain Java and of course using Groovy as the programming language.
I do have one other uncomfortable question related to that though. Are you ever going to update Griffon in Action for the current system?
I thought you were going to ask if Griffon will support Kotlin.
It already does.
Dude.
Here you go.
Oh, it does, really?
Yes,
that
of course.
Figures, doesn't it? It's bytecodes to all the way down. So what's the documentation story then on Griffon?
Oh, it's much better than the past. We have a big guide that uses ASCII-Doc. ASCII-Doc is my favorite format. So we can embed real production code and test sources into the documentation. So we can have up-to-date snippets of code and grab information from all around our code base and generate a really nice documentation. We also have tutorials and a list of plugins and so many things that if you go to griffon-framework.org, you'll see plenty of information.
Okay, so it's Griffon-framework, and just for those who are not aware, it's Griffon with an O, right? Griffon.
Double F-O-N.
Framework.org. It's not like Peter or Lois or Stewie. It's Griffon with an O.
Yes.
Right, so that's where all the information is. Anything else you want to mention about either the JSR situation or the Griffon framework or anything else related?
Just in case that is somebody that is listening or is watching us that really cares
all
about
the 5 people?
Both
yes,
of them. Yeah, right.
The other 2 are outside the camera, of course.
Yes.
If you care about desktop development, just reach out on Twitter or go to the website or reach out to us. And we will make sure that if you have any questions, do you have any doubts, how do you get started, or if you want to contribute, or you want to do something with the framework, just let us know.
Now you're A Almiray on Twitter, right?
That is correct.
And does Griffon have a Twitter handle?
Yes, it's called The Aviary.
The Aviary, right. I'm sorry, it's my accent.
It's because the Griffon Twitter handle was already taken.
Ah, very good. Okay, the Aviary is the Aviary. We already know the JFrog situation. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much for I'm being foolish enough to wander by at exactly the wrong moment. You know. Do you want to give a shout out to Ishel? You want to say hi to her while you're here?
Well, yeah. Sadly, so people that know us, they know that Ishel and I always travel together. But in this particular time, we didn't. So I'm now alone. That's why I cannot even speak correctly today, and that's the reason why. Because
but there's a chance she might actually be one of our half dozen or so viewers. She might watch this. You know?
I don't think
and
so.
then all the night hacking people are going to be really confused. You don't think so?
I mean,
my wife
Andres
doesn't watch
is
my
not
stuff
there
either,
to force her, so
she has better things to do.
Exactly, I get that. Okay, no, that makes sense. Now, Grails is I think Jeff just did a talk on Grails, didn't he? Or is
I
he
think
doing
it's
one?
tomorrow. Tomorrow he has 2 talks tomorrow. Yep.
Right. So Grails, I don't think has a new version in the works, although there's a lot of discussions about. They're currently 3.3.2, I believe, and I don't know when they're planning for the 3.4 release, but that's on the way. Groovy also is pretty stable at this point.
I think
although we've got.
We're waiting
I think we're about to have another beta for 2.5.
Yeah, another beta for 3 and 2.5.
Just a couple of advertising notes, minor thing. I have an article coming out in Java Magazine in the next issue on Groovy 3 and the associated changes and all that stuff.
Parrot and everything, the fun stuff.
Cribbed directly from Paul King's interview and from the release notes, directly in there.
For anybody that is listening, it would be great if you can download Groovy 3 and give it a try. We get at least a snapshot of the beta. And the great thing about 3...
It's Alpha 1 right
It's
now.
Alpha 1. Mm-hmm. So the syntax is very close to Java 8 now.
Yeah, I tried it.
And so the idea of having very close to the Java syntax is that you can copy and paste Java code into Groovy, or just rename .java into Groovy and use it. Yes,
as
exactly.
it used to be until Java 8
Java 8 came out.
They
exactly.
have a bunch of new features too, and we kind of go through most of that in the discussion. Also, I do have to warn you. I talked to Hadi Hariri, who's a Kotlin guy. I actually appeared on the Talking Kotlin podcast.
Here you go. The Kotlin can exposes himself again.
I tried to defend Groovy.
Here we go.
I tried to defend the possibility of dynamic typing and all that. I don't know how successful that was. When that podcast comes out, I will warn you, so you could stay far away if you like.
Kotlin Con exposes himself again.
The other thing we wanted to mention. The other thing we want to mention is that, was it this week that is Grails 1.0 is the 10-year anniversary? Is that
Yes,
right?
they announced it this year.
10-year anniversary. OCI tweeted about that. I started with 0.4, as I recall. That was Jason Rudolph's original book, the Getting Started with Grails.
Getting started with Grails. Yeah.
That's where
Same
I started
one.
with
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
as
so
I
you
did
know.
as well.
But at any rate, Jeff Brown was supposed to be here, and he got tied up, as is typical. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in demand. It's very important guy. You know.
He's a rock star.
But I think we're going to probably have to clear out of here because they're going to want this section. But again, thank you very much.
Yeah, here's the security guys coming in. So yeah, we need to.
We
See,
have to make a run
that happens
for it.
when we say Groovy and the Java conference. Get those guys out of the stage
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
quick.
Yeah.
Anything you want to mention? Anything else we left out?
No, I think we are all looking forward for a great conf, and Andres will be there, and Ken will be.
No, but the call
won't
for
be there,
papers for GreatConf US is still
yes,
open.
so
until
you will be in the
middle of
US,
March.
and I'm now in the. I hope it's not final yet, but I hope we will be able to make it as well.
And it's possible El Grovissimo will be there.
El Grovissimo for sure. He's the mascot. I mean, there is no. I mean,
Yes, he's gonna be at Copenhagen for sure.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. It's like it's like Tony Stark and Iron Man kind of thing. It's like you're just never sure.
Well, you kind of do. He
We
pretty much said it
kind of
at the end of the first movie.
Yeah, no,
Well,
but, yeah, it
and
doesn't work with Superman.
El
and-
Grovissimo eventually takes off his mask too. So
No, we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
No, we
Okay,
don't.
all right, we'll play it. That way then.
Maybe at GreatConf.
Okay, hopefully
Maybe.
we will have another Groovy podcast before GreatConf, you know.
Well,
We'd
probably
like
will.
to interview a couple people and everything there. We'll get into
Yeah,
that.
it's Soren probably next one.
But
Yeah.
I think we've got everything we need for today.
Yeah.
Thank you again to the night hacking people for allowing us to use the stage here. We should apologize. We've pretty much driven everybody away from the area here.
Yeah,
right?
but that's what we do. Yeah, that's
And,
Groovy Podcast for
That's
you.
your thing.
Yeah, that's Groovy Podcast for you.
But hopefully we'll see you all next time. So thank you for watching and take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.